Mm. Mm. Welcome back, my loves. It's Maria Chowdhury here. And in the previous two videos, I introduced the new landscape that brilliant, modern, talented spiritual women are navigating today. And the concept about how to cultivate the conditions for awakening and the conditions for self-actualization by tapping into our feminine power and unlocking 3 power centers. So in this video, we're going to unlock power center 2, the unlocking our inner GPS, our spiritual navigation system, so that we can forge the unshakable bond, that union, so we can unite with our inner wisdom and our intuition and connect to all of creation. Because it's very common for the spiritual women to sense and feel and know that there is so much more that we can do, so much more that we can be. There's so much more than what we see, right? But we don't always know what it looks like or how to do it or what it is or where to start. Right? So when you're manifesting in the masculine system of power, the system of power for achievement, you need to have a very clear goal. And then you create a strategy. And then you break it down into little steps so that you can check them off your list and those little steps, and then you'll get ultimately to the end result. Right? And that system is perfect for so many things. Like when I was building my Birthsong Botanicals and my website and getting it online and so I could sell all over the world, I absolutely followed a very strategic plan to make that happen. Right? And so when you're going to build a house and you're building a business, or you're going to even try to get out of debt, you might have a real strategic plan. However, like what we've been talking about in the other videos, when we're spiritual women and we're manifesting in the realm of the feminine, right? When we're manifesting the possibilities for higher love, the sense and feeling of belonging, the ability to create and to contribute and to share our natural gifts with the world and to generate prosperity and to deepen our spiritual practice. When we're doing those types of manifesting, we don't actually know what it'll look like or what it'll be like for us to fully realize it and for it to be fully expressed through us. I mean, how could we? We haven't ever been there yet. We haven't done it yet. It's unexplored. It's new. It's on the horizon. Right? And so that's where Power Center 2 comes in. Through this Power Center, what we do is we unlock our inner and our internal navigation system, where we can come into alignment with our inner navigation system, where we're deeply rooted with the earth. We're in alignment with our origins, with the stars and with the cosmos. And then we can forge a sense of trust. And we bond with, and we unify with, and we embody our inner wisdom. And then from there, we deepen into a source of creativity and power that radiates outward, right? So I could not have put the fullness of all my gifts of the midwifery practice on a vision board. So I had an idea to be a midwife. And in my wildest dreams, even in my like boldest, biggest, wildest dreams, I could have never imagined that I would have founded a company like Birdsong Botanicals, right? That has grown to have products in every country in the world. And I know certainly we have helped more than 25,000, more, certainly more than 25,000 moms breastfeed. That feels really good. I would not have imagined that. I could not have put that on my vision board, right? Like I said, I did create strategies and protocols to get there, but that's a piece of the story. What unfolded was far bigger and far greater than I could have ever imagined. So when I started midwifery school, you have to know I lived in a cabin with no running water. I relied on wood for my heat to survive the winter. I had an old 1957 Chevy pickup truck. It was awesome. It was huge, but it was so old that it couldn't go into reverse when it got cold. And so I had to park in all these strategic ways. I worked 3 jobs to pay my bills. Of like, my bills were probably $300 to $500 a month, and that seemed like a lot for me to do. And at the time, I was just coming back from Central America. There's no way I could have imagined a relationship with my husband, because I had never had that kind of relationship before. It wasn't modeled to me and with my parents or with anybody in my world. So, what I'm trying to say is when we're yearning to create things that are bigger than we can imagine, we don't have them in our history. And so we can't know what they're going to look like from where we are right now. And even if you have a specific idea or goal in mind, you can't control the process of it coming into being or the exact shape it's going to take. But when you're connected to a deeper intelligence of life, when you're connected to the infinite intelligence of life, when you're connected to your intuition, then you tap into something truly amazing. But in our culture, like many of the other feminine qualities, our intuition is not highly valued. We have actually been trained to not trust ourselves and to not trust our inner knowing in favor of the more logical approaches of strategy and planning. And so the result is that most of us are disconnected from fully trusting our intuition. And even when we do have flashes of some kind of our like inner knowing, we don't know how to distinguish whether the messages that we're receiving are coming from our inner wisdom or from our mind, our thinking mind, or from our fear or for some other emotion. Can you relate to that? Not knowing where the flash came from and can you trust it? So we get stuck in a loop in our mind and we try and try and try to figure it out. We try to figure out our destiny. We try to figure out our calling. We try to figure out our highest potentials in our mind. But the thing is, you can't get to your destiny from just your mind. You can't get there from strategy. You know, this makes me think about in midwifery. In midwifery, when you're giving birth, you don't give birth to your baby from your mind. It's not your mind that gets the baby out, right? It's your whole being and body. It's your instinct that births your fullness into nature. So, power center 2 is our connection to the deeper wisdom inside of you, the energy and the intelligence of life. And it's our connection to all of creation. So once we form an unshakable bond, a union, a connection with both of these, with your internal wisdom and your intuition and the intelligence of higher life, then you can unlock your inner compass that will guide you step by step to where you need to go. And as you follow this guidance, you can see that it will not lead you astray when you're in alignment. When you develop the confidence to take the risk to start to show up in new and empowered ways, like we talked about in Unlocking Power Center 1, those ways will start to open up all sorts of new doorways and pathways for your life. I can imagine right now this doorway just opening, right? And so if your life isn't working for you in some way and you're trying to figure it out with your mind, consider how much inner knowing you're not acting on. Whether because you're too afraid to do something, or that it's not sensible, or you don't feel like you can trust it, or simply because you don't see the next steps. So the time has come for you, my love, to develop this union, this bond with your inner wisdom and your inner compass and your inner alignment, so you can learn how to trust it completely. Because until you do, you won't be able to access the power to navigate your way to your destiny. So let me tell you a short story. This is really a very long story, but I'm going to tell you a tiny piece of it. So when I was like 19 or 20, I went to my first goddess festival. It was also my first 7-day fast. And on the main day, it was a May Day. We had a May Day, maypole dance and ceremony in the morning. And then in the evening, we had a sweat lodge. And when I arrived at the door of the sweat lodge, this was probably like day 5 or 6 into my fast. I peered into the sweat lodge and I could see that it was already filled with women. So I turned around and started to leave because I didn't see enough space for me. It was already full, right? So as I turn around, I'm leaving, I hear behind me someone say, "Hey, don't go. Come in. You belong here with us." And every woman shifted and they made space for me. And you have to remember, I'm the youngest one. The other women in this lodge, I knew some of them, I didn't know all of them, but they were midwives, they were shamans, they were healers, they were counselors, they were dancers, they were leaders of massive movements, they were priestesses, they were writers. So fast forward 7, 8 years later, it's the year 2000 now. And I'm returning home from my 3-year epic journey in Central America. And at that time, I had a very clear calling to be a midwife. So when I was returning from Central America, I didn't know where I was going to go, and I knew I could not go back to where I was. So I decided I'll check out Fayetteville, Arkansas, because I knew three things. They had health food stores there, they had the beautiful Buffalo River, and there were midwives there. So I might as well check it out. It would be a good spot for me. So I show up in Fayetteville, I apply to the Arkansas Midwife School and Services, and I'm accepted. And now I'm in the school, I've been enrolled, and my mentor and I are walking around the facility. And as we're walking down the stairs, I look on the wall and I'm like, I don't know why I didn't see it before, but there was a piece of art on the wall from one of my previous roommates from years ago. And I could see this art on the wall. And so it started this conversation with the woman who is my mentor midwife. I mentioned her in the beginning on the introduction video. Her name is Teresa Elder. And I'm like, oh, you know Hot Springs, you know True? And then she's like, yeah, I'm good friends with Barbara. And then we start talking. And then we find out that she was the midwife that was in the sweat lodge, right? She was in the sweat lodge years ago. And she was the one that said, hey, don't go. You belong here. And so now, 7 or 8 years later, I cannot make this up. She is now my mentor midwife. So that, my love, could not have been manifested through strategy. That was manifested through intuition and through trust. And I love this story because it illustrates so well how the process of realizing your larger destiny is far bigger than you can imagine from where you're standing right now. And it happens through you. When you're manifesting your destiny, it's something that happens through you when you are connected to the deeper truth of who you are. And normally and usually you can't see it. But when you connect to your deepest desires and you listen and pause, you'll get nudges and hints and sometimes very loud, clear messages from your inner wisdom, guiding you in the direction that you need to go. So, but the truth is, many of us don't have this bond and this connection and this trust with our inner knowing. Sometimes it feels solid and sometimes it feels shaky. But when we don't trust ourselves and we don't trust that life is organizing around our success, it's hard to forge that life positive connection with ourselves and with the energy and the intelligence of life and of the intelligence that is something is bigger than us that is unfolding for us, right? It's just not possible to access your inner guidance and start creating when you're not connected to that type of power and that type of trust. So now it's your turn. Think of a decision that you need to make. It could be something really big that's been weighing on you and something really important, or something relatively minor that's just been spinning around in your mind. So notice your body. Notice if you have any tension in your body as you breathe into it as you're thinking about this decision. And hold this decision in your body. And ask yourself, what is the conversation that I've had in my mind about this up until now? Holding this decision in your mind with your breath, ask yourself, what is the conversation I've been having in my head about this up until now? Now, with a nice deep breath, Okay, this is big, this is important. Imagine for a moment that all of life is organizing around your success. Even though you may not have any evidence for this, even though you're not sure if you can really believe it, just for a moment, act as if all of life is organizing around your success. This is a direct way to access your intuition. If I absolutely believed all of life is organizing around my success, what would I do in this situation? What would my decision be? And instead of thinking about your answer, let your awareness drop all the way down, down into your hips. Drop in and move into a place of receptivity and listening. What would I do in this situation if all of life was organizing around my success? What would my decision be? And as you're dropped into this receptive state, allow yourself to drop a little deeper into your hips, into your legs, into your feet, into the earth. And notice any sounds, sensations, symbols, visions that you receive. If life is organizing around my success, what would my decision be? Taking a nice deep breath and allowing what came to you, giving gratitude and thanks for what you received, and becoming aware of what you received. This is a little piece of tapping into your intuition, right? Because there's a deep well of wisdom inside each of us, and it's available whenever we need it. But it takes practice to learn, and it takes practice to receive and understand and decipher the language of intuition. But when we practice this and we forge an alliance and a union with our inner wisdom, then we learn to partner with life, right? And then you'll gain clarity of what you need to do, and you can start to trust this guidance. And then from there, your confidence will grow, and you'll tap into a kind of flow and synchronicity that will move you along your path. So this is a little sample of what happens, what becomes possible when you unlock Power Center 2. And so I'm curious what becomes possible when you connect with the larger intelligence of life and you unlock this power and deepen into your intuition. Because I'd like to find out together. So I'm inviting you for a journey. It's free. And we'll go together and we'll call forth your feminine power and deepen your intuitive wisdom with Qigong to support your awakening. And today we did a small piece of it. During our time together, we're going to go far deeper and wider and even wider than that to tap into your inner wisdom. Mm. So I'm going to say goodbye for now and invite you to call forth your feminine power. The link is below. And to watch the next video where we unlock Power Center 3. Mm.